We will thrive.
Go for your dreams. You can achieve everything. Everybody can become successful. Have you heard statements like this? Especially from motivational speakers like us. And it sounds so easy, right? But forget about it. It isn't easy as that. Of course, when we look back to a situation, then everything is easy. And when we look back to COVID-19, 2 years, in 2 years, then of course it's easy. But when you are in a situation, when everything seems to be against you, when your whole world is collapsing, then nothing is easy. And I know what I'm talking about. 8 years ago, my life was completely different. 8 years ago, I wasn't here in Hollywood. 8 years ago, I lived in Berlin, in an apartment which measured 240 square feet. And I'm not talking about the bathroom. 8 years ago, I wasn't a speaker. I hadn't written 6 books. I couldn't even imagine writing one. And I wasn't successful. 8 years ago, I was bankrupt. For the second time in my life. For the second time in my life, I lost everything. And if you had come to me back then and told me, believe in yourself, you can go for your dreams, I wouldn't have believed you. At that time, I thought, this is the end. And I was right. It was the end. But at the same time, it was the beginning of something new. Without going through bankruptcy, I wouldn't live the life I live today. I wouldn't have the success I have today. And since then, I'm not afraid anymore if something comes to an end, because I know if something comes to an end, then something new has a chance to begin. And I'm convinced, especially in our world today, we have to learn. We have to learn to deal with things that comes to an end. And I'm not only talking about COVID-19. You know, we are living in a world where robots are chasing after our jobs. We are living in a world of disruption, digitalization. Who can even say that his job is safe? Who can even say that his company will survive? Nothing is safe anymore. And of course you can say, Katja, I didn't want this. This is horrible. I didn't order it. But believe me, it doesn't make sense to think something like that, because you can't change it. You can't change circumstances. But, and here's the key, you can change what you make out of them. Every day you have the chance to make the most of your life. This is one of my most important lessons I have learned. Every day you have the chance to make your dreams come true. But you have to know how. And believe me, hoping and waiting, it's nice, it's fine, but it isn't enough. You have to make sure that your dreams come true. You have to get your dreams done. And now I have good news. You only need 2 things to become the dream doer of your life. And the first thing you have to master, the first skill you have to master is drive the bus. Let me explain what I mean with this. Let's go back 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was one of the most successful real estate agents in Germany. My selling quota was 1 out of 2. My Porsch was parked outside my home. I had tons of best friends. And I was living life in the fast lane. At that time in my life, I thought, the world is my oyster. Maybe you know a feeling like this. But then they no longer paid me. They no longer paid my commission. At first, my money came in, my money triggered in, but then all payments stopped altogether. And I wasn't prepared for this. I couldn't believe it. You know, exactly the same happened 6 years ago. And I couldn't imagine that it would happen again. So I hoped that my money would come in again. And maybe you know this hopeful feeling. What a BS. But I kept on working, still hoping. And then the day came, I had to realize the game was over. My money was gone. For the second time in my life, I lost everything. All my savings had been in this company, gone. And the whole game, I already knew, started over again. They seized my Porsche, evicted me from my apartment, froze my bank account, seized my credit cards. I had a 6-figure debt to my name, and so on and so on and so on. And I didn't only lose material things. I also lost my friends, most of them. And what was worse, I lost my pride. I was ashamed to look in the mirror because I didn't like what I see. You know, you don't go bankrupt. Not in Germany and not for 2 times. But this is exactly what had happened. And my whole world had collapsed. My life was a mess. I had no idea how to get out of the situation. No idea. And I had no idea how I should pay off all those debts. Selling real estate was all I knew. But I didn't want to do this anymore. And I had no idea what to do instead. But then a day came that changed everything. It was a typical morning, and I was sitting in my apartment. You remember, 240 square feet. I was sitting on my couch, in front of me an empty fridge, my last $10 in my pocket. And I asked myself, why me? Why me? And I couldn't find an answer. By the way, this is one of the most stupid questions we could ask ourselves, because there is no right answer. And while I was sitting there, I remember the advice my first boss had given me. He used to say, Katja, if you want to become successful in your life, you must ask yourself one simple question. Ask yourself, are you the bus driver in your life or the passenger? And it took me a second to figure this out. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm the passenger. I was sitting in the back. I was no longer in control of my life. My life controlled me. Or better, my bankruptcy controlled me. And realizing this, understanding this, I made my decision. I've done it long enough. I wanted to be free again. I wanted to live again. I wanted to be a part of the society again. And understanding this, I said to myself, okay, I might not be able to change the fact that I'm bankrupt, but I can change what I make out of it. I decide whether this bankruptcy breaks me or it makes me stronger. And I promised myself it will make me stronger. It will make me stronger than ever before. And I promised myself I will do the best I possibly can do to turn this bankruptcy around. And this is exactly what I did. I stood up and started running. And to be honest, I had no idea where I was going. But it didn't matter, because once you start, you will find your path. Once you start, you will find your path. Success is nothing but a decision. And that day, I made my decision. I'm the bus driver of my life, nobody else. And that day, at that morning, I stopped searching for people to blame. Instead, I started accepting what happened. And that morning, I stopped looking into the past. Instead, I started looking into the future. And I stopped asking myself, why me? Instead, I started asking myself, what can I do now? And this was the beginning of my speaking career. You know, everything starts with a decision. And of course, I don't know you, I don't know your situations, I don't know if your circumstances are good or bad. And maybe you lost your job. Maybe something worse happened, but you can't change it. But you can change what you make of it. Your life is not good or bad, it is what you make of it. Your job is not good or bad, it is what you make of it. Your relationship, your marriage is not good or bad, it is what you make of it. And every day you have the chance to make the most of your life. Every day you have the chance to make your dreams come true, but only if you are willing to drive the bus. You have to take the wheel. And once you have the wheel, then you're ready for the next step. Then you have to start and you have to power through. And for this, you need the second skill of a dream doer, and this is motivation. And just think about it. Do you have a dream? Do you have a big dream? And do you genuinely believe that this dream will come true? I mean, do you believe, not do you hope? Do you believe, do you know that your dream will come true? Your dreams. The biggest power you could ever have, your biggest motivation you could ever have are your dreams. And my biggest dream was born here in Los Angeles. 8 years ago, shortly after my bankruptcy, I was here in Los Angeles for the very first time, together with Peter, without having a clue that he would be my husband today. And I will never forget the moment when I was on Hollywood Hills for the very first time. I was standing at the top of the Rainier Canyon Park, looking down to LA. And for the first time since ages, for the first time since my bankruptcy, I felt free. I was happy, without any reason. And while I stood up there, a thought flashed through my mind, Katja, this is the place where you want to live. And immediately, this thought was followed by another, Katja, remember, you are bankrupt. You have no money. You don't have a work permit. You have no idea what to do for a living. Forget about it. This will never work out. And maybe you have faced situations like this. You have a vision. You have a dream. But immediately your reason says, this will never work. Sorry? Okay, sorry.
It's hitting your chin here, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry for interruption. Now I have time to breathe. Okay, I'm ready again. Okay, and maybe you have faced situations like this. You have a dream, you have a vision, but your reason says, no, this will never work, and you let it go. But I didn't let it go. I didn't let it go. My dream, I believed in my dream, and it gets stronger and stronger, and it keeps growing and growing. And with my dream, my motivation increased to become successful, to achieve. And my motivation increased to become the most successful speaker I could be. And I fought for this. I invested all my energy. I powered through. And nothing and nobody could stop me. Neither my bankruptcy, nor bad circumstances. And believe me, there were a lot. Nor people who told me you will never achieve. And to be honest, I didn't give a shit. I believed in myself. I believed in my dreams. And I simply did it. And 5 years later, I was one of the most successful motivational speakers in the German-speaking market. I published my first books, and I couldn't believe it. Me, even though if I was hopeless in writing in school, and I was on stage in front of 5,000 people, even though if I was the one who always blushed in school when I had to stand up in front of my classmates. And I experienced, we can achieve everything. I decide what I'm able to do, nobody else. And you decide what you are able to do. Believe me, you have all the potential you need to become successful, but you have to believe in yourself and you have to try it. And 3 years ago, Peter and I, we were finally back here in Los Angeles. And at the last day of our trip, we had a meeting with our friends. And in the morning, before we met, I did some grocery shopping. And I was standing at the checkout, waiting for my turn. And suddenly, I saw a humongous, fluffy, stuffed bear just sitting there. And he stared at me. And I can't tell you why. I grabbed the bear and bought it. And I went back to our Airbnb apartment. I had the bear under my arm. And Peter opened the door, and he stared at me, stared at the bear. Katja, what the heck is this? And I handed him the teddy and said, honey, this is the first inventory for our future home here in Hollywood. And this bear is going to wait here, is going to stay here until we come back to live in our own place. And at that time, we had no idea how this should possibly work out. But it didn't matter because, once you start running, you will find your path. And I knew that we would find our path. At the afternoon, we handed our teddy to our friends because we had to find a temporary home for him. What we didn't knew was that our teddy never arrived because they didn't want him to move in. And so our teddy stayed at the backseat of their car for more than 1 year, traveling around with them. And I think he has seen more from California than we have so far. But then his journey came to an end. On the 2nd of January last year, Teddy moved in. At the 2nd of January last year, we closed escrow and we moved into a new home in Hollywood Hills. And now, here we are. Here we are, 1,000 feet below the spot where my dream was born. Dreams are the real key, the real secret to success. Dreams let us start. Dreams let us power through. Dreams let us find the way. Dreams are the engine that powers our life. And a life without dreams is like a car without fuel. But just think about it. How many people are burying their dreams? And maybe you have done the same. But with every buried dream, you bury a piece of yourself. And there's no reason for do this. The only reason why we bury our dream is about our most powerful emotion. And this is fear. And just think about it. What do you do when you are afraid? Do you attack? Do you move forward? No. You do exactly the opposite. When you are afraid, you run away. And while running away, you will always head in the wrong direction. You will run away from your goals. You will run away from your dreams. And in worst case, you will run away from yourself. I promise, when you are afraid, you will never see chances and opportunities life is offering you. The only thing you will see are problems and obstacles. Success will never work in a pain avoidance mode. And I know what I'm talking about. Your fear is the biggest enemy of your dreams. There is no use for fear. What we need is courage instead. And just think about it. Do you want to become more courageous in your life? If you think, yes, Katja, this would be great, and forget about it. You don't need more courage because you already have it. From the moment you are born, you are brave. You don't care about failure. You don't care that something may go wrong. When you start learning to walk, you failed for more than 30,000 times. But you didn't give a shit. You simply don't give up. You see your goal and you do it. You go for your dreams. But the older we get, the more fearful we became. And someday we are not willing to make one single mistake. How should we become successful with a mindset like this? We only learn from mistakes. So if you want to become more successful, it's very easy. Make more mistakes. There is no reason for fear. And the funniest thing is, I'm often asked, Katja, aren't you afraid anymore? Of course I am. I'm human. But today I decide what I'm afraid of. In the past, I was afraid to make mistakes. Yeah. Today, I'm afraid not to make mistakes because it would mean I wouldn't grow. In the past, I was afraid to fail. Today, I'm afraid not to try. In the past, I was afraid not to be. Not to be loved. Today, I'm afraid not to be me. I decide what I'm afraid of, and you can do the same. And there's a single way you can do it. Change the way you ask your questions. Change the questions you ask yourself. Don't ask yourself, what could happen if I do X, Y, Z? Because your brain would give you the answer. You will see all the horrible things that could happen. Instead, ask yourself, what will happen if I don't do X, Y, Z? I give you a quick example. Imagine you're at Starbucks, you're online, and suddenly you see him or her. You know, the guy or the girl of your dreams. Don't ask yourself, what could happen if I go to talk to her or him? It doesn't make sense. Ask yourself, what will happen if I don't go talk to her or him? You will never see him or her again. You will have a coffee in your hand instead of a date. Is this the result you want to face? No, so go for it. Ask yourself questions that move you forward, and don't ask yourself questions that hold you back. The questions you ask yourself determine the way you feel. And now I have a gift for you. My most powerful question for success. And this is the question, what would you do if you had no fear anymore? Just think about it. What would you do if you had no fear anymore? What would you do differently tomorrow if you had no fear anymore? How would your life look like if you had no fear anymore? And if you know the answer to this question, then it's very easy. Do it. Thank you.